NBA players that are responsible for rule changes. The NBA has seen many talented players over the years who have left an indelible mark on the game. Some of these players have even been so influential that they have helped change the rules of the sport. These rule changes have often been implemented to keep up with the evolving style of play or to address a specific issue that has arisen in the game. These are some players who change rules of the game. Bruce Bowen, safe place to land. The Bruce Bowen rule refers to a rule change in the NBA that was implemented after the 2006-2007 season. The rule is named after former NBA player Bruce Bowen, who was known for using his feet to slide under opposing players as they landed after a jump shot. This practice, known as foot sliding or closing out, was considered by some to be a dangerous and unsportsmanlike way of playing defense. To address this issue, the NBA instituted a rule change that prohibited defenders from moving into the landing space of an opposing player. The rule change, which was officially called the Defensive Player Positioning Rule, made it illegal for defenders to move their feet underneath an opposing player's feet while they were in the air taking a jump shot. The Bruce Bowen rule is still in effect today, and players who violate the rule can be penalized with a foul. Kobe Bryant, hand-checking rule. Kobe Bryant played in the NBA during a time when the hand-checking rule was still in place. Hand-checking refers to the defensive technique of placing a hand on an opponent's body to impede their progress or restrict their movement. During Bryant's career, hand-checking was legal in the NBA, meaning that defenders were allowed to use their hands to impede the movement of offensive players. However, there were limitations to the amount of contact that was allowed, and referees would penalize defenders for using excessive or aggressive hand-checking. The NBA eventually changed the rules in the 2004-2005 season to limit hand-checking, prohibiting the use of hands to impede offensive players beyond a certain distance from the basket. This change was designed to open up the game and create more opportunities for offensive players to score. Wilt Chamberlain, everything. Many of the most basic rules of modern basketball were created as counters to Wilt Chamberlain's abilities. Argued by many as the single most dominant player who has ever lived, Chamberlain's accomplishments read like video game stats. Some of these rules include that shooters cannot cross the free throw line until the ball hits the rim because Wilt would just throw it against the backboard for dunks. They changed the dimensions of the court by widening the paint from 12 feet to 16 feet to keep him further from the basket. They created offensive interference rules or the creation of goaltending to prevent him from grabbing his teammates' shots from midair and dunking them when they were headed into the basket anyway. They even issued that the ball cannot be inbound over the backboard because inbounders standing underneath the basket would routinely lob the ball over the backboard for Wilt. Safe to say, Wilt was pretty good. Allen Iverson, the dress code rule. The Allen Iverson dress code rule refers to a controversial dress code policy that was implemented by the National Basketball Association, NBA, in 2005. The rule required all players to dress in business casual attire when arriving at games, as well as when leaving or interacting with fans. The policy was largely seen as a response to the hip-hop fashion style that had become popular among many NBA players, including Allen Iverson, who often wore baggy clothing, jewelry, and headbands during games and press conferences. The dress code was met with mixed reactions from players and fans alike, with some arguing that it was unfairly targeting African American culture and limiting players' self-expression, while others supported it as a way to promote a more professional image for the league. Despite the controversy, the dress code policy has remained in place in the NBA to this day, although it has been somewhat relaxed in recent years to allow for more individual expression and creativity within the business casual dress code. Reggie Miller, the leg kick. One of Miller's signature moves was his leg kick, which he would use to create space between himself and defenders when shooting three-pointers. This move involved kicking out his leg after releasing the ball, which would often result in contact with the defender and the potential for a four-point play. In response to Miller's leg kick, the NBA instituted a new rule in 2003 that prohibited offensive players from kicking their legs out when shooting jump shots. This rule change was designed to prevent players from creating contact with defenders and drawing fouls in a way that was deemed unsportsmanlike. The new rule was controversial, with some players and fans arguing that it unfairly limited offensive players' ability to create space and draw fouls. However, the NBA has continued to enforce the rule, and players have adjusted their shooting techniques accordingly. Shaquille O'Neal, backboard support and hack-a-Shaq. The incident where Shaquille O'Neal broke the backboard support during a game in 1993 prompted the NBA to adopt stricter standards for backboard supports. Since then, the NBA has required that all backboard supports be able to withstand a minimum of 250 pounds of pressure applied horizontally at the level of the rim. As for the hack-a-Shaq strategy, it is a strategy used by opposing teams to intentionally foul Shaq, who was notoriously poor at shooting free throws. The strategy is meant to limit Shaq's scoring ability and force him to shoot free throws, which he had a lower success rate at compared to other aspects of his game. In response to the prevalence of the hack-a-Shaq strategy, the NBA has implemented several rule changes to discourage its use. For example, in 2016, the NBA instituted a new rule that prevents teams from intentionally fouling away from the ball in the last 2 minutes of the game or in overtime. Additionally, in 2017, the NBA reduced the number of timeouts teams could take during the game, in part to discourage teams from using timeouts to avoid intentional fouls. These changes were made to encourage a more free-flowing game and to prevent teams from intentionally disrupting the rhythm of play by repeatedly fouling a single player. Michael Jordan, colorful sneakers. Michael Jordan is widely regarded as one of the greatest basketball players of all time, and he is also known for his iconic line of colorful sneakers. In the 1980s and 1990s, Nike released a series of sneakers known as the Air Jordans, which were designed in collaboration with Michael Jordan. The Air Jordans were notable for their bold colors and unique designs, which quickly became popular among basketball fans and sneaker collectors. The shoes were so popular that they sparked a new trend in sneaker culture, with many fans buying and collecting them as a form of self-expression. However, the colorful sneakers also sparked controversy in the NBA. In 1985, the NBA banned the black and red Air Jordans, which violated the league's uniform rules. Michael Jordan continued to wear the shoes anyway and was fined $5,000 each time he did. Nike paid the fines for Jordan, and the publicity surrounding the ban only served to increase the popularity of the Air Jordans. Despite the controversy, the Air Jordans remain one of the most popular and recognizable sneaker lines of all time, with new designs and colorways still being released today. Michael Jordan's influence on sneaker culture is undeniable, and his colorful sneakers continue to inspire new generations of basketball fans and sneaker enthusiasts. Charles Barkley, 5-second rule. Charles Barkley, also known as Sir Charles, is a retired professional basketball player who played in the NBA from 1984 to 2000. He is known for his entertaining personality and his skills on the court, but he is also remembered for a unique 5-second rule that he created during his playing days. The 5-second rule refers to the amount of time that Barkley believed a player had to take a shot after receiving the ball in the low post. In his view, if a player held onto the ball for longer than 5 seconds, it was likely that the defense would be able to double-team or trap him, making it more difficult to score. Barkley's rule was not an official NBA rule, but it was widely discussed and debated among players and coaches. Some players agreed with Barkley's philosophy and tried to make quick moves and decisions in the low post, while others felt that 5 seconds was not enough time to make a play and preferred to take more time. While the 5-second rule may not be a formal part of the NBA rulebook, it remains an interesting part of basketball lore and a reminder of Barkley's unique perspective on the game. LaMarcus Aldridge, late-game goaltending reviews. In 2017, Aldridge was involved in a controversial late-game goaltending call during a game between the San Antonio Spurs and the Oklahoma City Thunder. With just seconds remaining in the game and the score tied, Aldridge blocked a potential game-winning shot by Thunder guard Russell Westbrook. However, replays of the play showed that Aldridge's hand may have touched the ball after it had hit the backboard, which would have constituted goaltending, a violation of the rules. In response to the controversy, the NBA announced that it would begin reviewing all potential goaltending calls in the final 2 minutes of close games. The new rule, which was implemented in the 2017-2018 season, allowed referees to use video review to determine whether a goaltending violation had occurred. The rule change was meant to ensure that close games were decided fairly and to prevent controversial calls from affecting the outcome of important games. While the rule change was met with some criticism from fans and players who felt that it slowed down the game and disrupted its flow, it remains in place today as part of the NBA's commitment to ensuring fair and consistent officiating. Before we proceed, here are some honorable mentions. Rajon Rondo, upside-down handbands. Karen Butler, can't chew straw. Dwayne Wade, custom band-aids. Sam Perkins, durag. Sam Cassell, the big balls dance. And the final rule changer is James Harden, the Harden rule. The Harden rule is a term used to describe a change in the NBA's rules regarding offensive fouls that was instituted in 2018 in response to the playing style of James Harden, a star player for the Houston Rockets. Harden is known for his ability to draw fouls from defenders, particularly by initiating contact with his arms while shooting. In previous seasons, he had been able to draw fouls in this manner and earn trips to the free throw line, much to the frustration of opposing players and coaches. To address this issue, the NBA implemented the Harden rule in 2018, which stated that any offensive player who initiates contact with his arms, legs, or body in an unnatural way will be called for an offensive foul. The rule change was designed to make it more difficult for players like Harden to draw fouls in this manner and to promote a more free-flowing game. The Harden rule has been controversial, with some players and fans criticizing it as an attempt to stifle creative play and limit the effectiveness of star players like Harden. However, the NBA has defended the rule as necessary to ensure fair and consistent officiating and to promote a more balanced and exciting style of play. The rule remains in place today as part of the NBA's efforts to continually improve and evolve the game. Thanks for watching, and please don't forget to smash the subscribe button so you won't miss our latest videos and updates.